All right, folks, I think we've got everyone here. It is 8:30. I'm going to call to order the special meeting, Nicollet County Board of Commissioners, May 6, 2021. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting state and federal emergency declarations and guidance about limiting unnecessary person-to-person contact, the May 6, 2021 Nicollet County special board meeting will be conducted under Minnesota Statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. County Board and Drainage Authority members will participate by telephone or other electronic means. So we call the meeting to order. We've read that. We will turn to the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Kollars.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. This being a special meeting, we don't have the opportunity to amend an agenda, so we meet according to the three purposes set out in the meeting notice. And thank you, Ms. Lewis, for sending all that out and getting us set for today. So we're going to just jump right into number one, CASA 13 contract bids.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff. Item from Public Works is to consider award of project SP 52613-021. We received 4 bids on April 19th, and for this project, the project on County Road 13 is a mill and concrete overlay from 506th Street to Trunk Highway 99. It's about 5.3 miles long. We received very, very favorable bids, which was great. Also in your packet, you should have a complete bid abstract of the entire report on what every individual item came in at. Low bidder was Kroll Incorporated with a bid of $4,447,344.59. This project is a federal funded project. Approximately $1.71 million of federal funds will be contributing to the project. The remaining dollars will be covered by our state aid regular construction dollars. An additional item to possibly note on the funding, as part of the American Rescue Plan, there is a certain pot of transportation dollars that will be flowing through MnDOT, and they've broken out for every county approximately an estimated amount that we may receive that could potentially be put towards this federal aid project. It looks like we could potentially receive an additional $177,000 that could be added to our federal share of this project, which would be great. I've never worked with Kroll before, but they have a very good reputation. If you remember when 169 between St. Peter and Mankato was resurfaced with concrete, Kroll Incorporated did that project. If any of you have driven on Brown County Road 29 that heads kind of northwest out of New Ulm towards Trunk Highway 4, Kroll also did that project. Kroll will also be doing a concrete overlay for Brown County this year, along with our project. And also in talking with the MnDOT concrete engineers, they had very good things to say about Kroll and the quality of work that they do. So I'm asking the board today to award project 52613-21 to Kroll Incorporated for the low bid amount of $4,447,344.59.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kollars and a second by Commissioner Lipke. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I could, so
Commissioner Kollars.
when we move, Seth, and I think we've talked about this before, this is about 5 miles.
Yep.
And so we're a little bit under the $1 million per mile cost, but you're seeing greater durability in concrete?
Yes, when we look at concrete versus bituminous, the concrete design will be we should get anywhere from 35 to 40 years out of that pavement. Over that lifespan, we will have to do some maintenance work as we do to all our pavements. The big difference is if when we do a bituminous overlay, the year or two after that we pave it, we'll seal coat it. Probably an additional 7 to 8 years after that, we'll reseal coat it, and then we'll have to do another overlay. And so when you do multiple bituminous overlays, all that additional bituminous maintenance, that's where concrete has a little longer longevity, and we come out ahead with our concrete pavements that way. We call it the life cycle cost analysis on that. Yep. Plus, County Road 13 is a fairly heavy, one of our more heavy traveled roads, and gets a significant amount of heavy truck traffic. So concrete will perform very well on that segment.
And Mr. Chair, I think we can all recall when the rebuilding of the 169 took place, this Highway 13 had significant increase in travel, and thus was used more. Now, the other question that I might have, if you just allow me, how does this play into the future of connecting County Road 41 eventually to 13 to the north of North Mankato?
As of right now, those two processes are really independent of each other. If 41 is pushed further to the north, we haven't identified exactly an alignment or where that potentially could hook back into 13. But where this project starts up, I think 41 may come into this location, the starting location, 506th Street, or somewhere around there. So there's a lot of planning yet that's got to go into any extension of 41 and exactly where that connects. And so again, really, those two projects are kind of independent of each other at this point. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, or
That's very helpful. Thank you. I just for looking ahead to 35 years of travel, somewhere down the road, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and even if 41 would come in further to the north, and we would ever contemplate giving back a portion of County Road 13, say to the city of North Mankato, that piece of 13 will definitely remain in place and be needed for the future development as the city pushes north.
Seth, refresh my memory. Was that 6 inches of concrete, or was it more than that?
It's 7.
7. Okay.
7. Yep. We're putting this. This isn't one of our thinner concrete overlays. This is a bit thicker because we're actually putting in dowel bars where the sawed construction joints go in to provide better load transfer between the concrete panels because of that heavier truck traffic out there.
Thank you.
Other commissioners, Commissioner Kemp.
Just so I'm clear, Seth, this is considered an overlay and a milling. So this is not scratch built. Is that correct? So we're not tearing everything out.
Correct.
Where we kind of end up with that $1 million a mile price point. So that's why this number may be a little less than we're used to seeing. And
yeah.
How does that impact the bonding? I mean, this is a thicker overlay than I've heard us mention before as far as that. So there will be a traditional milling operation. So there'll be bituminous hauled out. Isn't that what the current surface is, or is that concrete now?
No, the current surface is bituminous. We are going to mill off approximately 2.5 inches. And really what that milling is to do is to help reestablish what the correct cross slope and super elevation is through the curves. It's also to take some of the height off the road. because if we continue to go up without taking anything off the road, our shoulders will have to be narrowed, and the inslopes become a bit steeper. And so there's a fair amount of existing bituminous on the road, so we're able to take off a little of that existing bituminous to keep that overall height from getting too high.
So if I may continue, then is that also going to involve some bituminous shoulder work as part of this project?
Yes, we'll be removing the bituminous shoulders as part of the operation. As we mill that out, we don't want, and we're going to keep bituminous shoulders even with the concrete pavement.
Right.
But we need to take the shoulders out completely because a lot of areas they're alligator cracked and broken up. And also we don't want a bituminous ledge at the end of the concrete pavement because that will potentially trap water, and you could have a freeze thaw issue there. And so we want to get that outside edge of that concrete pavement on aggregate base, so any water that gets down the tracks can flow out and get away through that aggregate base.
Perfect.
That's probably
Thank you so
way
much.
more than what you want to know.
No, I was envisioning that, and so that's why I just wanted to ask that question.
Yep.
Because the inference here is it's concrete. Well, that's the overlay, but all the ancillary items that we're used to seeing on a road construction project or a rebuild of some sort is going to look the same to most of our constituents.
Yes, correct. And we wanted to make sure that we maintain paved shoulders out there because County Road 13 with the existing paved shoulders has become a popular route for bikers and runners and pedestrians out in that area.
Great. I appreciate that input. Thank you so much.
Other discussion? Commissioner Lipke.
12-foot lanes and what, 7-foot shoulders, 8-foot shoulders?
12-foot driving lanes, and we got two different design sections. There's a short piece from 506 going north, probably a couple thousand feet, 1,500 feet, that have 8-foot shoulders, and then those narrow down to 6-foot shoulders. So 6 and 8-foot shoulders.
Thank you.
Other questions or discussion? Seeing none, Director Greenwood, do you have anything left or in addition to add?
I would say that our contract starting date is approximately, I believe, June 21st. And depending on weather and any issues that arise during construction, we're anticipating probably mid to end of September for completion.
Great, thank you.
And
Well,
if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Kent, please.
Just to add on to that, with the rework of 99, do we anticipate any significant traffic problems to accomplish both those projects?
Not anticipating any significant traffic problems. We're lucky enough to have Trunk Highway 169 as a very close parallel route as a good alternate to get to St. Peter and to the north.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no, thank you. This has been a good conversation, good questions. But at this time, Commissioner Lipke, did you have some? Ms. Lewis, if you would take the roll, please, on the motion.
Bowlers,
Yes.
Lipke,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Journal,
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Director Greenwood, for the information.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair.
I'm going to remind folks that this is a special meeting, and for the special meeting, we need to stick to the purposes in the agenda. So we cannot go beyond CASA 13 at this time. We're going to turn to item 2 on the agenda regarding human resources, and I'm going to turn to our interim county administrator, Ms. Landcamer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. As you recall, at last week's regular scheduled board meeting, I did provide you options for the replacement of the interim human resources director. Initially, it could be an internal appointment and an external appointment, and then regarding some staff assistants, and then the permanent appointment schedule with it. The first item of business is to address the appointment of the interim human resources director. In discussions with the personnel committee and other ongoing conversations with staff assistants, my recommendation is to appoint the current Human Resources Assistant, Whitney Krebs, as an interim Human Resources Director. I feel confident that Whitney can provide these services in addition to the resources that the county currently has available to assist with human resource questions and activities, in addition to the current agreement that the county entered into with the AMC DDA Human Resources Technical Assistance page. Again, therefore, I recommend Whitney as the interim Human Resources Director.
I'll move that.
Kemp second.
So we have a motion by Lipke, a second by Kemp to name Whitney Krebs as the interim Human Resources Director. Discussion. Everyone's unmuted, but I'm not sure if anyone is looking to jump in.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would just
Commissioner
ask the Personnel Committee, was there was consensus on going this route with these assistants from AMC and all of those things? I'm just looking for an affirmation that I believe I already heard, but I just want to make sure.
Certainly, we had no qualms at this point.
Thank you.
Well, I think that Ms. Krebs has demonstrated the ability to fill this role as recommended by our interim administrator.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Additional questions or comment? Well, then I'm going to take this opportunity to echo what I believe Commissioner Kollars was saying, that Ms. Krebs has done an excellent job, has been very helpful. I know that we've had questions come up and I've been grateful for her guidance and willingness to step in and help the county. Ms. Langhammer, anything in addition before we vote?
No, Mr. Chair, I do not have any additional information.
So Ms. Lewis, would you take a roll call on the motion, please?
Lipke,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Journal,
Yes.
Kollars,
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes, the motion passes. Ms. Krebs will be our interim Human Resources Director, and I know on behalf of the board, we're all grateful for her willingness to step in to this position at this time. Ms. Langhammer.
The next item I have in the agenda is the discussion of the American Recoveries Act, or also in reference to the Families First Corona Response Act. As you may recall, at last week's regular scheduled board meeting, there was the discussion and approval of the extension of the current benefits through April 30th of 2021. That did expire last Friday. As part of that discussion and within the packet, a table was supplied of additional options the county may consider moving forward that would be effective May 1st of 2021 through September 30th of 2021. Those again are in your packet for your review. A couple of comments I would just like to add. Currently, there are no benefits available to the county, or I'm sorry, to the employees other than the advancement of sick paid leave. That has always been in place and that will continue to be in place until the public health emergency is expired. And some additional information we received from surrounding counties, they have chosen not to pursue the extension of any benefits beyond April 30th. The reason for that is that they feel that the vaccine is now readily available to the general population, and that those options are available to staff to pursue with that. Therefore, my recommendation is for the board to consider whether or not they want to extend additional benefits. That would be from May 1st through September 30th of 2021. I think there needs to be some discussion as far as what that means. We did have a conversation with payroll and how that would impact it, and there is some concern. But again, based on the information that we've received from other counties, they are not pursuing any extension of benefits other than what they currently have available in their current policies for staff. I'll answer any questions regarding this proposal, and please let me know.
So Ms. Langhammer, we will, in our board packet, we received a spreadsheet, if you will, a chart that has emergency paid sick leave, emergency FMLA, and then advance of sick leave. I just want to be clear before we start the discussion that the advancement of sick leave, the third option, is already in place.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Discussion. I'm not asking for a motion first because I want to make sure that we have maybe some basic questions answered. So I'll first look to our commissioners to see if there are any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Kemp.
I think I'm seeking some clarity, and it's maybe merely definition, but the emergency paid sick leave, EPSL, first line item versus advancement of sick leave. The EPSL, was that not supported with CARES funding also, or am I getting those out of sequence?
Ms. Ankra?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I'll defer to Whitney Krebs for an explanation. I was not part of that conversation, so I'm not very well versed in that. My understanding is that the advancement of sick leave, that is a county policy that was put in place last March of 2020 to assist staff that did not have sick leave available to them because they were either newer to the county or that they had other situations that caused them to deplete their case.
Ms. Krebs?
Correct. Any emergency paid sick leave. I don't know if Heather's on the call or not, but I don't believe in conversations with her that the CARES funding would extend to the coverage of these additional 80 hours under the American Rescue Plan.
And that's what I was trying to get clear in my head. So thank you, Whitney. So the EFMLA is merely an extension of the FMLA program normally, but there is no additional funding attached to that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Lipke?
now that first part about going ahead with your borrowing basically from the future, is that staying? If there was no drop dead date on that, was it?
That policy is in place until the essentially the pandemic has expired.
Okay, so it does expire then,
Yeah.
unless we decide to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, commissioners, my understanding, and Ms. Lancaster, please correct me if I'm wrong, is, as I mentioned earlier, the advancement of sick leave is already policy. It will remain in effect, my understanding is, until the end of the declared peacetime state of emergency in the state of Minnesota regarding the pandemic. To do either continued emergency paid sick leave from May to through September, or emergency FMLA will require a motion and a second from the board. Commissioner Lipke.
Do we have any idea what this will cost us? I mean, I'd assume we really don't.
Sure. So Commissioner Lipke, and we'll answer that question. When you say what this will cost us, let's start first with the emergency paid sick leave. Do we have an estimate of what it would cost us to extend that for May through September?
No, we do not have an estimate. Previously, Finance Department has shared the number of hours that have been paid out by the county in general. We can get that information for you again if you'd like. I don't have the specific numbers at this
But it's
time.
hard to know.
Well, I think on this chart, the EPSL through April 16th, 4,320 hours were used.
Oh.
108 employees, 17 of whom used all 80 hours.
Okay.
Now, this is, I know commissioners, you all had a conversation, I believe, last meeting as well. Some of these hours were used, for example, for childcare in the beginning. And also we didn't have the vaccine in the beginning, as Ms. Landcamer rightly noted. So the conditions have changed a little bit. So I don't know that we would expect the same trajectory of usage. It should
go down.
go down.
My question in your comment, Mr. Chair, is, was the FMLA that was already listed in line 2, were those individuals that chose to use the FMLA already participating in the EPSL? Or were those handled in 2 different ways because of however they made the request?
Commissioner Kemp, I believe on the EFMLA, you did not require a sickness, an illness related to COVID. So under the EFMLA, one could use it for childcare.
Right.
And so my understanding is that Nicollet County had 2 employees who use the EFMLA for childcare purposes, presumably because it wasn't an illness issue. It was probably because their child care option had closed because of the pandemic.
Right.
I'm guessing on that last part. I'm not, I guess I'll ask the question. I think that we've got the situation covered, unless staff have an idea or a recommendation that we should be doing otherwise, but it seems like the majority of counties are doing the advancement of sick leave. We put that in place about a year ago, if not longer at this point. We are going to continue to do that. And I imagine that if the situation worsens for some reason, the board can always come back to a question. I understand that you're bringing it to us at the one option ended at the end of April. And I think, and we know we're getting great updates from Ms. Lewis and Health and Human Services about the vaccine take rate. And we certainly as a county want to continue that upward swing. So I'm not hearing, I should say, a need to do additional work at this time. But again, I'm going to ask one last time if commissioners would like to make a motion on an additional option, this would be the time to do it.
Mr. Chair, I just have one question
Commissioner
on
Kemp.
that. Just to be clear, there is nothing that would prohibit us if things go a different way. If we have another outbreak or something else happens, that we could not come back and turn or at least continue these services. This is not a drop dead date. Is that correct?
My understanding, Commissioner Kemp, is that these are available until September 30th. So in the event there was a situation that caused an increase or a surge, the county could go back and reconsider some of these options.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be clear about that. That was my assumption, but I needed to ask the question. So thank you for that. And I tend to agree with our chair that the advancement of sick leave is probably our best option at this time, if all the numbers stay right, but if not, we can come back and correct it.
Other final comments from commissioners? Well, we're gonna close that part of the discussion unless Ms. Langhammer, is there anything to add?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
I would simply note that I think we've been, as a board, trying very hard to support our staff, everything from, you may remember in the very beginning, we were going to keep staff on payroll. We were going to do what we could to help staff. And Commissioner Kemp, you're right. If the situation were to turn for the worse, I think everyone involved in this meeting today is open to having that discussion again. Absolutely, what we can do to support folks. Everyone, that's the end of the agenda for this special meeting. I do want to just ask, and I could have done it at the beginning, but I don't think we had anyone on at that time, but I will allow public comment if there was someone who came to this special meeting for the purpose of making public comment. Seeing none, and Abby, I don't think you see any either. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Couple second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Lewis, would you please take the roll?
Lipke,
Yes.
Yes.
Kohlers,
Yes.
Journal,
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for making time. I hope you're enjoying this weather, and I know John Lipke is enjoying rain.
Yes.
So thank you all.
Thank you.